Hello. In this course, we will be taking a closer look at mastery learning. In the past years, we have embraced the growth mindset, voice and choice, SOPs, and embedding the habits of mind within our daily instruction. This year, we will be embracing our learning continuum and critical standards. Our assessments have been aligned to our learning targets. So for many of us, mastery learning is the next step on our journey towards personalized learning. In this video, we will discuss what mastery learning is, why we are doing it, and how we might accomplish it within the classroom. Let's start by talking about what mastery learning is. Mastery learning allows students multiple attempts to demonstrate mastery. No longer are students only given one shot to show they know something. In mastery learning, not only are they giving multiple opportunities to show their mastery, but they are giving various formats or ways to demonstrate their mastery. One way that students can demonstrate their mastery at Creekview is through the iReady Standards Mastery. They can also do it through creating a Google slideshow to share with their peers, or maybe they'll write a song about what theme is and convey a theme within the song. Really, they can demonstrate mastery any way in which they share with you an understanding of the content. Mastery learning also has a scaled measure of proficiency that's aligned to the target. We'll discuss this more in depth as the district develops their proficiency scales. Mastery learning has Tier 1 remediation built in. It allows for evidence-driven, formative feedback. Because teachers are able to meet with small groups throughout the mastery learning cycle, they are able to provide students with on-the-spot feedback that is relative to exactly what they are learning. Mastery learning also allows students to advance when they are ready. No longer is the entire class moving at the same pace. And finally, mastery learning embraces the power of yet. A student might not know it yet, but they get to keep trying until they can gain mastery. Now that we know what mastery learning is, let's take a look at what it will look like here at Creekview. In mastery learning, we'll start with a pre-assessment. Based on the pre-assessment, we'll determine which cycle the students would fall into. Students who score an 85% or higher on the pre-assessment would move into the mastery cycle. They've already shown one way they've mastered the content through a test. Now they're going to continue to work on the content so that they can show mastery in a different way. In the pre-assessment, students who scored below an 85% are going to move into the independent learning cycle. In the independent learning cycle, students will be using blended learning to practice and continue to work towards mastery of the content. Once the student and teacher feel that the student is ready to show mastery through the assessment, they will take the post-assessment. When a child scores 85% or higher on the post-assessment, they will move toward the mastery cycle. Throughout both of these cycles, the teacher is always pulling groups intentionally based on the data and interacting with the students at the critical moments. Why mastery learning? Why are we making this shift? One, because the independent learning cycle provides a flexible learning path that allows students to engage with an appropriate amount of rigorous content. Throughout the independent learning cycle, the student is making choices about what they are going to practice and how they are going to practice while meeting with the teacher in a small group. In the mastery cycle, it gives students the opportunity to spend their learning time applying their learning in authentic ways. It gives them another opportunity to show how they can demonstrate mastery of the content. Students get to select the learning tasks that interest them and, in some cases, even suggest their own ways to demonstrate mastery. Students and teachers are working in an environment that encourages collaboration, critical thinking, communication, and innovation. Now that we know what it is and why we are moving that direction, let's take a look at what it could look like within a classroom. There are many different ways that it can look in a classroom. I've seen teachers create menu boards similar to this one. I've seen teachers use a Google Doc with different hyperlinks. I've seen teachers create playlists that allow for students to choose the activities that they want to practice so that they are working toward mastery, or once they've shown mastery, to choose between activities that will let them continue to go deeper with the content standard. One way that I think works best for me is through Schoology course folders. So I'm going to share this way with you today. I've created this course for the reading standard in literature 6.1, which is inferencing. So we'll go to Schoology. And in Schoology, I'll go to my 6th grade group. And in my 6th grade group, I've put in the resources this folder. Reading Literature 6.1, Inferences and Textual Evidence. So a student, you would share this with your students and they would click on this folder. And then depending on what they did with the pre-assessment, they would know which folder they were ready for. Were they ready for Mastery Cycle? They scored an 85% on the pre-assessment. Or they're ready for the Independent Cycle because they're still practicing and on their way toward mastery. Let's say that a student scored below an 85%. They would come into the Schoology folder and click on the Independent Cycle folder. Once they're in the Independent Cycle folder, it gives them the things they need to be working on if they're not with me in a small group. The first thing says iReady lesson. They need to make sure they complete 45 minutes of iReady for the week. Now, different classrooms set this up in different ways. There's nothing here for them to click on. This is just a reminder for them that they still have their 45 minutes of iReady for the week to complete. They can click on the video folder. When they do that, it will bring up different videos that talks about inferencing. Now, the first 2 videos, you will see this one says Introduction to Inferencing and Inferencing Part 2. These are both videos I created based off the Teacher Toolbox lessons. So in the Teacher Toolbox, those first 2 lessons, which were an introduction and guided practice with the standards, I put into video format because often those are lessons that students could quickly watch through video and get what they need from the lesson and then be prepared to come to a group with you and dig right in to inferencing. I've also included some other inferencing videos for students to watch if they feel like they still need more practice in understanding what an inference is. For me, I would have students writing down and taking notes as they're watching the videos. This would be something that you would have to explicitly teach to students, but once you've taught it, they could do this very easily on their own, and it gives them something to be working on while you're meeting with other small groups. Right, students can practice and watch the videos. Once they've watched videos and feel like they have a better understanding of inferencing, they can come back to the Independent Cycle and click the Practice folder. Within the Practice folder, I've included passages that students can use to practice their inferencing. Now notice it tells them that they get a choice of these passages. They don't have to do all of them. Maybe they only need to do one, and then they feel like, I've got inferencing down now, I could pass the post test. Maybe for some of them, they'll need to do 2 or 3, along with meeting with you in small group before they're ready for the post test. I put the directions as what the students need to do at the top. It tells them that the articles are here for them to view, but to actually answer the questions, they would need to go over and get a paper copy from the area in the classroom, and then turn it in so that we could provide feedback for how the students are doing. Once a student has completed the practice section and feels like they're ready to take the post test, they just need to let me know that they're ready to try the post test. Again, for some of them, they may only need to do one of these practice sections. For some of them, they may need to do a couple. Also remember, while students are watching the videos and practicing these practice passages, you would be pulling kiddos to work with on inferencing skills. You could be using scope lessons. You could be using the Teacher Toolbox lessons 3 and 4, the modeled practice and the independent practice in your guided reading groups. Once a student has taken the post test and achieved an 85%, they're ready to move to the mastery cycle. They would come and click on the mastery cycle folder. In the mastery cycle folder, again, I've made sure to make a note that they need to be completing their 45 minutes of iReady for the week. I also added that I would want them to read 30 minutes of their independent book for the week. And then they get to pick what they'd like to do next. I still want them working on inferencing, but now I'm going to give them the opportunity to show me a different way that they've mastered this content. So I've provided 3 different ideas for how they could show me inferencing using their independent reading book. The 4th way I didn't finish yet, but I'm going to add, or they can come and tell me a way they think they can show mastery. This allows students to continue to work with inferencing, but at a deeper level and by applying it to their independent book. Hopefully, this video has helped you gain a better understanding of mastery learning and what the independent and mastery cycles look like here at Creekview.